Thank you, not so live studio audience, for that wonderful round of applause as we start the show.
Well, it rained yesterday, so it's muddy, and the grass grew overnight.
And there's your weather report from Carl. Before we get started, the views and opinions expressed on this broadcast are not those of the SCV, GEC, nor any division, brigades, camps, or other subsidiaries, strictly those of us who are expressing them. We broke Moose early this episode, so that's great.
You broke Moose behind the scenes.
I do. Smoking.
Moose? Moose? The artist formerly known... Hey, he's back.
All right, I'm
hey,
good.
Kyle, by the way, we went ahead and started a minute early. That way you would be here on time.
Yeah, the minute early threw me off. I nearly cracked my head open on my bed. Or not my bed, but the guest bed. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. How are you doing this fine night, Moose?
After a rough weekend, it has been a good start to a Monday. Long weekend. Getting ready for taxes. That sucks. And then to the slow realization I ain't got no money.
Hey.
So say it with me. It's one poor episode. I'm nothing more than a broke college student.
Doing the bull dance, feeling the flow, working it.
You just got to remember that whenever you're feeling down and out.
That made the weekend so much better. But no, it was a decent weekend. I did complete one of my tests Saturday. Big one. It took 4 hours. Didn't leave me much room, but I did pass. Praise the Lord. And hopefully one step closer to a new job. Actually got to submit my EIN so I can get my EIN number. So hopefully everything is going well. And good day. Got some good news today on a brigade fundraiser, so I'm looking forward to sharing that with everybody soon. And of course, we got a good week interview Thursday. Made sure to confirm that today.
Ooh.
Yeah, we'll be wrapping up the interviews, and we'll kind of be getting back to our regular look around the Confederation episodes. But we have about, I'm saying this off the top of my head, 3 to 4 more left. Everybody's been contacted. We're just trying to confirm one more person, and then we'll be setting up for the Commander-in-Chief interviews.
Oh, interview.
I'm tired.
Hi, tired. I'm GCB.
Thank you, Connor.
Dad jokes.
Well, you got to get used to them now.
Yeah. But good evening to everybody in the chat. We've killed enough time us doing that. Yes, I was about to bring up Paul's thing. I was going to apologize for not being able to attend this weekend. We had scheduling conflict with a soccer tournament for my 12-year-old stepdaughter, and it's just we just couldn't be in two places at once. We'd already gotten the hotel room and everything like that at Christmas last year when it was all announced. So, but I was there, in heart and spirit, and definitely Miss Linda was a beautiful lady, and I know there were several folks from across the Confederation there. Including past chaplain in chief, Reverend Dr. Herman White.
Yeah, it broke my heart not being able to be there. It really did. I love Miss Linda so much, and I do want to thank everybody that attended. I know how much it meant to the past commander-in-chief, and all I got to say is keep an eye out. I want to do something for her for National Reunion. Either keeping the thing that she came up with alive with Moose Mania, or something else. I'm thinking on it right now. I haven't told GCB this, but I do have a poster made for that. I made that a couple months ago for Moose Mania. Might make another shirt. She always liked that shirt. She always wore the crap out of it. I don't know, but we'll see as it gets closer to reunion. But I do want to do something for her. She was the best.
Yeah. But anyway, we have had a interesting or a pretty good month here on chat. Looking forward to next month, which of course, we have April, and a very busy April at that. So looking forward to it.
We are gearing up for April. I have 2 interviews scheduled so far.
Good. Good. And did you reach out to one of our sponsors?
I did. They will be on the first Monday in April.
Perfect.
And then the next Monday in April, we have a surprise, which I think I already told you about. I hope I did.
Maybe
50-50.
Faversham, Carl.
Faversham, Carl.
About to be dark.
I can confirm.
We need some more weather updates whenever you get a chance there, Carl. But yeah, April's going to be a wonderful month. Speaking of Carl Jones, do want to remind everybody in the Army of Tennessee, if you have not registered for the AOT conference, please do so. It'll be May 2nd. Get on that. The ATM is also having an event. I'm not in the ATM, so I can't remember. But one of you ATMers, go ahead and put that in there. We'll bring it up. And then, of course, we have National Reunion coming up. It is quickly approaching. Oh, look at you having it having it in the wrong.
It's in look around.
So anyway, yeah. So remember, we have a bunch of things coming up for, of course, division reunions, everything like that. Talking about we did a slideshow this past couple weeks ago here in Mississippi, and one of the things that we talked about was the SCV, and just like anything else in life, you get out what you put in. So put in some time, go spend some time with your compatriots, especially next month, Confederate Heritage Day or Confederate Heritage Month rather. Go do something for your ancestors. Sorry about that. I needed a cracker.
I understand that. We all need a cracker every now and then.
I didn't want to be caught crack-a-lacking.
You are on one tonight, let me tell you.
Sorry, I didn't think that anybody wanted the ASMR of me eating a cracker. But anyway, as y'all may have realized that last Tuesday was March the 17th, which is General Patrick Cleburne's birthday, and we figured
I wore green tonight.
I was wondering why you're showing off your Beauvoir shirt, the last home of Jefferson Davis in Presidential Library.
It's the only green shirt I had in my house.
Not necessarily a St. Patrick's Day episode, but we're just talking about
close enough.
This is why I broke Moose before the show. This is payback. Anyway, so we're gonna talk about General Cleburne and some of the other things. We're not gonna really dive into some biographical stuff. Don't really need to. I'm sure most of us here what I was telling Moose before the minute early start is some of the things I want to talk about is 2 questions that I want y'all's feedback and participation in this. I was kind of hoping Dr. Sandy Mitchum would be on. Haven't seen his name in the chat yet. But a couple of things that I want to pose to the audience and, see y'all discuss with each other as well as, us on here. And kind of go from there. So first question that I have, and I want to pose to the audience. Do y'all think that Cleburne was overrated or underrated as a general? Like, or was he perfectly rated? Should he have received higher rank? Should he have, was he good there as a major general? Should he been promoted to a lieutenant general, or did he, outpunt his coverage? I highly doubt anybody's going to say the latter, but I want y'all's opinion on that. So how is he rated as far as his rank goes?
That's kind of a hard question because me and you've talked about there's some people that were absolutely phenomenal in the position they were in, and when you promote them, they didn't do too well. The one I always point to, and you'll laugh at this, is my opinion on Bragg is good trainer and should have stayed training.
Yeah, I could see that.
That was the position he was best at. But since our last, we had a Patrick Cleburne episode about a year ago with Jason Boshears, past commander in chief.
Was it a year or 2 years?
I think it might have been a year or two. Definitely not more than two.
Yeah.
We didn't do one, since then, in my head anyway. But I learned a lot about him, and I would personally say I think he should have been promoted. I think he was a good general. I think from what I have heard so far, again, sadly, I have not dug in to him like I said I was a couple years ago. Just haven't been able to with my life. But from what I remember, what I know, I would say I think he should have been promoted.
Yeah, Wes Franklin out of Missouri brings up an interesting idea that he would have made a great corps commander and that he should have had command of the AOT, there for the Franklin campaign. Ironically named. Ironically, we're talking about Franklin with Wes Franklin. That's not really irony, but coincidental. But command of the army. I see. My thing is, I think I would say that I agree with part of that. I don't know if how he could have done now. Definitely, I agree. Hood shouldn't have been in charge of the army. Hell, my wallet would have done a better job at being in charge of the army than John Bell Hood. My views and opinion. But I don't know if I'd have put him in charge of the army without having corps command first. David Pope says that I'll be honest. I think he was third best lieutenant in the Army of Tennessee. A.P. Stewart was generally a better general, and John C. Breckinridge was one of the most consistently competent leaders in the entire war. So yeah, I would. I can agree with that. Definitely. I don't think that he is. I don't think that he's overrated. There are some generals out there that you could say were overrated. But I don't think overrated would have. Now, Wes, I've got to disagree with about Uncle Joe. And not go into an entire tangent. Joe Johnston was good, but he to me he's more like the Confederacy's McClellan, just very very cautious, which is good in a commander. McClellan his big thing was he was overly cautious, but he had he had the entire backing of the federal government behind him. And of course, Johnston didn't want to go into a battle without being, completely certain of victory. But there, other than Chickamauga, we weren't in. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody. But other than Chickamauga, we didn't go in, outnumbering the enemy hardly ever. So I would say that and Joe Johnston in my book also debacled the whole Vicksburg campaign. Sitting in Canton. Not trying to move on Grant's rear or anything like that. It was just, yeah. So, no Braxton Bragg.
Well, we've lost GCB, and I was in the middle of sharing the episode out, which I highly recommend everybody do. Please share this episode out. But luckily, he's back.
Fun fact on this mouse: if I hit the mouse button number 5, it takes me back, or number 4, it takes me back a page. So, I did not know that till just now. So, in the middle, underrated. I think this is from Jason Lloyd. I think he could rise to the top. Lieutenant General, the Emancipation, so it's fine. It didn't hurt him, which is actually, he did get handed a raw deal at Jonesboro, commanding Hardee's Corps. Mostly the command structure was a wreck after Bald Hill and Ezra Church, of course, Hood was in command. Yeah, no kidding. That's the later Atlanta campaign. And the Emancipation is something that I was going to bring up next. Is the question on why didn't he receive more? I mean, Robert E. Lee said of Cleburne that he was a bright star or a meteor shining on a clouded night. And Cleburne and Lee, to my knowledge, never met. So that's certainly high enough praise there for coming from Robert E. Lee.
Yeah.
But why didn't he get promoted? Now, was it because of his 1864 proposal about arming slaves and letting them fight for emancipation? Was it because he was Irish born? He was born in County Cork, Ireland. Served in the British military for a while. I think he made it to corporal and then moved over to the South. But what was it? Was it because of that, or was it because he wasn't a West Pointer and didn't have that favoritism that we see so much in the West? Wes says because he was part of the anti-Bragg faction. I could see that.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Yeah, I could see that. Of course, the kind of revolt in the officers' corps there after in 63, 64 that got Bragg ultimately removed. Branson, Missouri.
What?
Lieutenant Commander-in-Chiefs in Branson, Missouri. That's right. Missouri Division does have their reunion this weekend.
Ah, yes, you are correct.
Which I hope y'all all have a good time. So do you think so Wes thinks it's because it's the anti-Bragg. Nobody else wants to put in the West Point thing. The West Point thing I was thinking about, but also at the same time, you look at Bedford Forrest, who barely had a formal education of any type. But he rose to the rank of lieutenant general. So, that's kind of counterproductive to make that.
I don't know. It's one of those weird things, and we've talked about it sometimes on episodes long ago that favoritism was heavily played. I honestly think Forrest should have moved up more, but I'd personally say that he just wasn't their pick. I don't think it had anything to do where he's from, his thoughts on, arming African Americans. I think it honestly. Now, West Point, I think, could have played into it, but I think it was more just favoritism and people being like, well, he's not our guy.
Yeah, and that's and that's all the crazy part of it is and again, what got me on this is there was a graphic novel that came out a couple years ago. the graphic novel is called Cleburne. And it's actually pretty good, and it's pretty graphic. I actually enjoyed it. No, Moose, I'm not lending it to you. Buy your own copy.
You mess up one time back in 2020.
And still haven't replaced those books. I know, poor broke college student. We've already had that once. But anyway,
Next year.
Yeah, they promote John Bell Hood to command of the AOT because Hood is a fighter. Cleburne, he's a fighter. I mean, he's Ringgold Gap. I mean, the Confederate Congress wrote, I believe, a proclamation to him and his division for, the masterful stand that they did there. So it's you had the fighter, but again, what Hood had, and maybe that's a good next question. What did Hood have that Cleburne didn't have? And I know what Cleburne had that Hood didn't have: an arm and a leg. Sorry, my views and opinions and historical facts. But Hood did have the West Point pedigree.
Yeah.
So Jason brings up a good point, at least about the West Point thing. It was the same attitude with Bragg towards Forrest not being a West Point officer. Yeah, well, Wes, and that's the thing. It's the politics of it. Hood had a inside line with Davis that Cleburne didn't have. Yeah. David, good point. Perception is reality. Hood did serve with the ANV. He did, but I guess to an extent, being under both Jackson and Longstreet's commands, and hard fighting at Gettysburg and hard fighting at Chickamauga, those would be. But Cleburne also hard fighting at Chickamauga as well. Yeah. Hood thought he could be a lot of things. Peachtree Creek is another good example of Hood's hoodiness.
Yeah. Yeah, had an inside line to President Davis. That helped.
Is that a bell ring behind you, Moose?
That's my fan.
Yeah. So here's an interesting one.
It's hot in this little office.
So what if Cleburne had been promoted to lieutenant general before Franklin? How could the outcome have changed? Do we think let's just say, to put it into the full perspective, that is a very interesting question there, Wes. And we can talk about that after we talk about this one. But let's say after the Atlanta campaign, after Atlanta's fallen and the AOT is moving out, that's when Cleburne is promoted to commander of the AOT. Does he, what does he do? Does he harass Sherman's rear as he marches to the sea, or does he try the maneuver into Tennessee? I think that Cleburne would have continued to harass. He wouldn't have tried for Tennessee unless ordered. I think he would have tried to harass Sherman's army, on the march to the sea, and tried to, I know he couldn't defeat it in total, but try to break it up into piecemeal, maybe. I said, I don't know if he goes into Tennessee or not, but I want y'all's opinion on that. As far as Wes, your question,
That's
I don't know if we're
an
going to
interesting
hit on
one.
that. Do we think Cleburne unalived himself by the Federals at Franklin? You know, I it's hard to say because there's the conversation between him and Daniel Govan before the ultimate assault. And Govan says, General, not many of us will make it back to Arkansas. I'm afraid many of us will not make it back to Arkansas this day. And he says, well, Govan, let us do our duty and die like men. I think that he knew that that it was failed, that it was from the beginning. I don't think that his character would have allowed his, because so much that you see, he would, like, he's one of those generals that would not go into, he wouldn't order his men to do something he wasn't willing to do himself. And knowing that he's about to put his men, his division through the meat grinder the way that it was, I don't think that he could have I don't think that he could have let him go. I don't think he could have without him. I don't think that he could have resigned in protest and stuff like that. I think that he was going to see his men through to the end, one way or the other. I think he was kind of resigned to his fate, but I don't think that he was actively trying to ride out there and seeking his death.
I'll agree with that. I don't think he was seeking it.
Yeah. I think it was one of those. I think it was one of those. I've been with you boys so far, and we've gone through some muddy things, and I'm not going to abandon you now when things are looking the worst. Because Cleburne did have. He had a fiance in Mobile that he was eagerly waiting to marry. He had plans for after the war. So I don't think that he had a lot left to go for. I just think that he, like so many of our ancestors, saw that it was his duty. It's like Shakespeare said, some men are born great, other men are achieve greatness, while some men have greatness thrust upon them, and it was thrust upon him what to do. Yeah. So, J-Bell, what's your opinion? Does he? Let's just say hypothetically, he's thrown into AOT command after Atlanta has fallen. Does he go into Tennessee, or does he harass Sherman? I think he harassed Sherman.
I think he harassed Sherman, and I think someone put it in there. I think Cleburne would have also, used Forrest a lot more.
Yeah,
to attack Sherman.
Well, James Martin says that Wheeler and Hood tried to lure Sherman back to Alabama to catch him between Lookout Mountain and the Coosa River, but Sherman didn't take the bait. Yeah, Sherman from the outgo knew where he was going. He was trying to burn a path through Georgia and make Georgia howl. So like I said, does he continue and try to fight smaller engagements using the Army to his advantage, and what does that even look like? Is it a series of running battles, kind of like the Wilderness Campaign, or does Sherman eventually stop and say, I've had enough, and turn around and try to force a major engagement?
That's a hard one.
So, want some of y'all's opinions on that. Meanwhile, another question. So let's say that he survives Franklin. Somehow he does not die at Franklin, but he's still in command of his division. How might he have influenced the next coming months of the war? How does the Nashville campaign, the rest of the Nashville campaign, look? Given the casualty amounts, and you just all you have is just Cleburne surviving Franklin, I think Nashville's still a doomed thing anyway.
Yeah, I think the casualties kind of seal that fate for us.
Yeah. I think we'd have rest. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, J-Bo, is that he would have harass Sherman and his flanks. And West, yeah, not sure what Sherman wanted the AOT to do. I mean, Sherman, with what Hood does, he takes the only real field army in that area away and out of his flanks, out of his back, and everything like that. And he's allowed to, with the exception of home guard and other small engagement through the rest of the march to the sea. He really doesn't have anything to mess with him. So it was like almost a gift to Sherman for that to happen. I think if Cleburne's in charge and at least is able to force smaller engagements along the way, the Carolina campaigns changes a little bit.
Yeah,
changes a lot of bit because if let's just say, which if you look at it, the federal army was living off the land, stealing everything in sight, and that would also it would be hard on the AOT as well because they've lost their supply base in Atlanta, and then they're following an army that's stealing, raping, pillaging everything in its path. Supplying those the troops for the army would have been hard, but at the same time, Sherman's got to if he's let's just say it's on average 100 casualties a day, that starts adding up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wes, I agree. I just Cleburne surviving Franklin, I don't think that it makes a huge difference. The Sam Watkins said it best, that it was the last great harvest of the angel of death or something like that. And maybe at that point he would be promoted instead of trying to recycle Joe Johnston again. But he did, the fate would have still been the same.
Now, something kind of on this history, and I don't know how to phrase the question, because after Gettysburg and Vicksburg, one of the main things that the CSA were hoping for were elections. And I could be getting my timeline a bit confused.
No, you're right.
If Cleburne survived and really, took it out after Sherman, and Sherman didn't do, let's just give it the benefit of the doubt, he didn't do as much damage as he did. He still does some damage. He's Sherman, mass murderer and awful human being, my views and opinions. But he does, derail him a bit. Sherman doesn't get to do everything he wants. Maybe there's some saving graces there. Maybe some things don't get attacked. They got attacked. And, Lee does decent in Virginia. And again, I'm lowballing it. Do you think that would have changed the outcome of the election, which in turn would have probably stopped the war?
Yeah. Well, so it depends on the timeline of when Cleburne would take command. Yeah. Atlanta fell in September of 64. The elections were in November of 64. Had he, if it had been before the fall of Atlanta and he's able to somehow keep the city from falling completely, that was one of the things that helped, turn the Union morale or the federal morale. Was the sacking, of course, Abraham Lincoln rigging the election. Look up that stuff. There were units. Some units were allowed to vote for him, and other units weren't. Some people, like a lot of the Copperheads in Chicago, just happened to be arrested and put into Camp Douglas along with Confederate soldiers the day before election, and then not allowed out until the day after the election. So we report, you decide. It's probably trademark.
That would be our luck.
Yeah, but still, with all that being said, it depends on when he takes command. If he's able to somehow drag Sherman through the meat grinder, send it kind of like the assaults in the early assaults in Vicksburg in May of 63. Sherman wanted to have happen, and those guys are able to essentially perform a cold harbor outside of Atlanta. Maybe it shifts things in the North's morale. But with Atlanta falling, that was a huge feather in Lincoln's reelection. So
yeah, that's kind of just one of those interesting things. And James Martin brought it up, and then if he would use Forrest, because and I agree, I think Sherman was afraid of Forrest and used him effectively, and basically just let Forrest be Forrest.
yeah, well, and J-Bo brings something. If he'd gotten command at Chickamauga, that things would have been a completely different story, because we're talking late summer of '63 there. And again, you're going against I can't remember if it was I think it was Rosecrans at Chickamauga, and he creates a gap within the line. That's one thing that allows us to essentially exploit that gap. It would have made a whole lot of difference, at that point. Things would have changed, and for sure Cleburne would have followed up on the victory, unlike Bragg, who just kind of let it slip through his fingers. The only man who, in my opinion, could grab defeat out of the jaws of victory anytime. Jason Lloyd said if Johnston would have held out with siege in Atlanta through November and Shenandoah still held by Jubal early and Lee at Petersburg, might be a chance Lincoln loses the election. That's what I was getting at, is that he would have if butts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. But again, a Cleburne holding that would do things differently. But let's just say that it's after the fall of Atlanta that he takes command. Does the fact that a series of running battles with casualties, hold on. So 37 days, from the March of, so November 15th, Sherman leaves Atlanta through December. So post election, really, I don't think it would. So really, if that happens, if he remains, or Cleburne gets command of the AOT, really he'd have to have that victory before the election. So he after the election, it really, I don't know if it would have that much effect on it or not.
See, that's the thing, because it's just the three bursts: Vicksburg, Gettysburg, Atlanta. There was a lot of feathers being put in caps.
Well, no, there was Harrison. You're getting your timeline mixed up.
Okay.
There's a lot of time in there.
Where?
Yes, Vicksburg and Gettysburg happened July of '63, but then we have the victory of Chickamauga.
I don't know why I was thinking 64.
Yeah, that we have Chickamauga. You have Grant earning the nickname the Butcher up in Virginia with the Wilderness Campaign. Spotsylvania Courthouse. You have Cold Harbor. You have Cold Harbor, where we killed, I believe, 20,000 Yankees in 7 minutes. And again, he's getting the nickname the Butcher. He's having to pull bandbox regiments or so, regiments that were essentially heavy artillery units that were guarding Washington, D.C. for the duration of the war until this time, and putting them into the Army of the Potomac because he's caused so many casualties. And he's going for this war of attrition up in the East. Things were not bleak, or things were not bad until Atlanta falls, because that's a major supply depot. You've got uniforms coming out of there, you got hospitals, you've got supply, things of that, food, ammunition, weapons, things of that nature, coming out of there. So that's why Atlanta was such a huge, blow to the Confederacy. Wes, could we have retaken Atlanta? Yeah, we could have, but the destruction that was wrought on the city, as well as the rolling supply, rolling stock, food supply, military supply. I mean, at that point, it's what was lost there was the damning thing, not necessarily the city itself. Jason, we're actually planning on trying to do an episode on Albert Sidney Johnson. If he'd survived Shiloh, what difference would it be? It's one fun thing I've started doing with AI is taking in different historical scenarios and running through AI and seeing what the result would have been. You can actually, the first one I did was with the Battle of the Alamo, and manipulated a couple of different factors, and it gives you it'll actually give you a percentage, especially if you tell it to run it like Ultimate Warrior. If you remember that show that was on Spike TV years ago, that will go and it'll run it so many times. So we're planning on doing that. Really quickly, we're going to take a commercial break before we get into some more what if scenarios with Cleburne. Before we do that, we do want to thank our sponsors. Moose, who are our sponsors?
Let's pull them up and let's talk about them. Well, first we have, of course, Dr. Chris Cummins, MD, out of Oxford, Mississippi. Connor, have you fallen?
Nope.
Have you tweaked your knee?
Maybe.
Have you stabbed your eye with a stick?
No.
Well, if you have done any of those things, why don't you go check out Dr. Chris Cummins in Oxford, Mississippi. He'll make you feel good and treat you with some good Southern hospitality to the point where you're going to want to skip that apple a day so you can go see the doctor. So make sure to go check out Dr. Chris Cummins, MD of Oxford, Mississippi, and he'll make you feel good. Next up, of course, is 31st Regiment Engraving. Look at these wonderful, wonderful items here for sale. And of course, they just unveiled something new, Connor. Engraved bottles, decanters.
I saw that.
So if you want to get one of those, because I definitely want a engraved decanter, go check out 31st Regiment Engraving, www.31stregengraving.com. Go talk to them out of California. Some great members of our organization are part of that, so check them out. They also make these great memorial bands. I have one for my ancestor. It helps me remember why I do this day to day, why I'm in this fight, and who this is all for.
And of course, we cannot help but thank again Andrew Kazmar at Beauregards Taylor. If you're not familiar with Beauregards Taylor, they are a family business driven, proudly offering authentic War Between the States reproductions, plus T-shirts, reproduction flags, lapel pins, and so much more. Everything that he creates and ships out is crafted with exceptional research and quality. Anything from flags. We did our Fun with Flags episode at the beginning of this month. You can probably find one of the flags your ancestors served under. If not, present him the research and he can probably, get it recreated. Cool T-shirts like this Mississippi infantry button shirt. And I have said it multiple times in my opinion, that the SCV should be the one-stop shop for everything Confederate history. And when we represent our ancestors dressed out in uniform, we should represent them as best looking as we can. And that's one thing that Andrew does with his historical reproductions of different garments, anything from the different 30 different Richmond Depot jackets, to the Houston Depot, to the Deep South, to officers' kits, everything and anything in between. The research on it and the craftsmanship is fantastic. One day I hope to be able to fit in to an actual really good looking frock coat that he has that one of my ancestors would have worn. So definitely be giving Andrew a look. We thank him for his sponsorship. And the museum at Market Hall, of course, where this T-shirt that I'm wearing actually came from. The museum at Market Hall, home of the Confederate Museum since 1899. If the flag is open, flag is out, we are open, excuse me. Their normal hours are Thursday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you're heading to Charleston, give them a visit. We actually have them coming on in April to talk about a new display they have dealing with Confederate diversity. So that will be a great episode, if I do say so myself. But the ladies there that are doing it and putting it on are a wonderful group, and so many wonderful things that they have. Not just South Carolina relics, but they had some Mississippi stuff, some Jeff Davis funeral stuff. I mean, just a bunch of phenomenal. So definitely go and give them a look. And of course, all of our wonderful patrons at Patreon. Remember, we have 4 different levels that you can sponsor us with. For $2.50 a month, you can make sure that Harrison is not a poor, broke college student. You can feed him Moose a corn dog. $2.50 a month. For your $10 level, you become a real chat head. You get a wonderful sticker and access to our content, including the teaser for the Swamp Fox video that I'm working on right now. Got that out today. We also have our merch tier for $30 a month. You get a bunch of exclusive merch that Harrison and I don't even get ourselves. Jason, who is our merch tier member, keeps sending us pictures of it, and I'm thinking, do I really want to pay the $30 to myself so I can get the merch? And I'm kind of almost at a yes. So and then of course we have our sponsorship level where $80 a month, your business, your camp, your other subsidiary can advertise. We reach roughly 2 million people a year on our various platforms, and this goes out there. So definitely be looking at that. And of course, you can go to scvchat.com and go under the support us and support us there. You can also visit our bonfire storefront, where we are running a promotional deal on our South was right in 61 because America was right in 76 shirts.
Yes,
there it
just
is.
Use promo code 250 to make sure you get that discount.
So definitely be looking at that. We also have other shirts, including our Patrick Cleburne shirt, which
has my favorite quote.
Yeah, which Loy and his wife Renee wore to the Patrick Cleburne birthday celebration. Available in green, for the Fighting Irishmen. So definitely that. But really quickly, Moose, go ahead and roll that commercial, and we'll be right back with some more what ifs and discussion about General Patrick Cleburne.
I got into the SCV after receiving an award back when I was in high school. I had no clue what the SCV was. All I knew was that it was a rebel flag and it was supposed to be racist. I decided I would go and look further into it. Everything that we're taught from a very young age is that the Confederacy was wrong. They were treasonous. But it turns out it wasn't just because the South had slaves. This was because of a very fundamental principle of big government. There's nothing more American than keeping the government in line. It's what we were bred to do. It comes down from 1776, Declaration of Independence. It's because we decided to keep a government that we deemed tyrannical in line. That's what the true definition of the cause is. Me being a young black American and being a part of the Sons of Confederate Veterans is a shock to a lot of people. The black Confederate soldier would have had to have been one of the hardest working soldiers there was. These are men who decided to take up a cause because in the end, it was their own cause. In fact, most owners wanted the slaves to stay back because that was how they were steadily making income. They made a choice to do something that was bigger than themselves. And that's why, as a black Confederate now, it is my duty that I owe them to do something greater than myself. Confederate history is American history, and you cannot separate the two. I am Sammy Travis, descendant of Private Benjamin Rowe, a Confederate veteran.
All right, and we are back. So here's my question. We've talked about, Cleburne in, 60, 63, 64 kind of, with Chickamauga and everything like that. Let's keep in that same time frame, but instead, statistically speaking, out of the 9 infantry divisions in the Army Northern Virginia that were engaged at Gettysburg, 6 or 7 division commanders were unable to continue effective command immediately after that battle. So let's say that here is my hypothetical question. What if post Chickamauga, Cleburne gets transferred to the A&V?
Ooh. Now that's interesting. That's a hard one too.
Mm-hmm. Really want to see Jason Lloyd's. I think. Well, I don't know.
That one opens up a whole lot of possibilities.
It does, but my question is, how does that affect the West?
Ooh. Losing Cleburne would have hurt the West, definitely.
So Jason, let's just say he replaces Lafayette McLaws. McLaws, who was temporarily wounded, or it was wounded or enough to where he was not in serious command. Let's just say he replaces McLaws.
That one's interesting. I kind of want to hear everybody's take on this.
Oh, that's a good point, Wes.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been good for the AOT. I know that much for a fact. It's just how much would it help the A&V in that regards?
Yeah, like I said, post Chickamauga, he shift up, and then after the debacle with Chattanooga, yeah, James, Vicksburg's already fallen by the point we're talking about.
Dude.
Yeah, David, that is interesting. I still think that it would have ended roughly the same. I mean, the fortifications around Washington made the city non-impregnable. All right. While some of y'all are getting some of your thoughts on that, there was one, James Martin. What if he'd been one of the commanders at Donelson instead of the committee? So had he'd been one of the of course Fort Donelson, the generals get together and they're like, yeah, let's surrender, and I don't want to surrender. Well, all right, I'll resign and then you surrender. How would that have affected everything? That's the one thing I love about being able to sit back and play armchair quarterback on a Monday evening, and talk about just somebody who was so pivotal. I mean, just that one, like we just talked about with our not the last question, but the question before. If he gets shipped from the west to the east, and why did he leave the west and travel to the east? Yeah, there's a question for you. Some of y'all know. Not in exactly correct Duncan's language, but anyway, I digress. How that affects this theater of operations down here. James, if you're talking about the order to disperse, like what was suggested at Appomattox, I got to disagree with you there. No, that would have been. That's one reason why Robert E. Lee, took the council and decided against what he did. Occupation was terrible, but I shudder to think what would have happened if an actual real guerrilla war would have followed in suit. Crimes against the civilian population would have been comparable to that out west in Missouri.
On the original question, I think I'm going to agree with Wes. I think the AOT would have been hurt more with Cleburne not being there than he would have helped with being in the AMV.
Yeah. And if we had more, some other generals down here, which Stephen D. Lee was doing a pretty jam up job, for a good portion of it. But if we'd had more, then somebody who could have replaced him better. But I just don't know who that would have been.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Who do you get to replace Cleburne?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's when you stop kind of running into what ifs, because there's some things you can't know. Because as I said at the beginning, there's some people that shine at one job, and if you take them out of that one job, they don't do as well. But there's some people that they did great at a job, they did good at a job, and if you would have given them the chance, they would have done just as good. And so now you're going into, well, how do we know this person would be better at, say, this job now that there's an opening there? Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, and again, the thought of him going east and commanding in the east, especially him being the Stonewall of the West, is interesting. But it's just there's just way too much. I mean, he was the right man at the right time. As far as divisional command goes, but and even then, possibly Corps or even Army command in the West. But pulling him out of the West, we sink quicker. So anyway, I think that's a good point for us to wrap up. So tomorrow night, Moose, what we got going on?
Well, tomorrow night we have Tennessee Tuesdays on. They will be coming back, and I don't know if they've released what this week's episode is about yet, so I will be interested to see what they talk about. Of course, Wednesday, look around Florida. And, of course, funny enough, we had him on last week, but they'll have Mississippi Division Commander Forrest S. Dawes on to talk about his platform for Army of Tennessee Councilman. And, of course, it must be AOT week, because this Thursday we will have, of course, James Patterson on to talk about his candidacy for Army of Tennessee Commander.
Love me some Patterson.
I'm looking forward to that one. From his announcement, some very good ideas I'd like to discuss.
Yeah, I'm very, very. I will be trying to tune into that one for sure. Sorry, I'm watching. I'm not watching. I'm working on the Swamp Fox video.
Which, if you're on our Patreon, you could see. I'm just saying because that's kind of the start of some very cool projects that we're doing this year. And I'm very proud of the work that we'll be doing in that.
Yeah. It's our most expensive project so far.
Yeah. Bless our hearts. But hopefully it really takes off, and we'll need y'all's help with that.
Yes.
But go check it out right now on Patreon. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, definitely. And it should be there if I can get this transition to erg.
It is. You just have to copy and paste it into.
No. I know how to do the trans. Well, I don't know. I don't know if that link is gonna continue to work now that I'm editing it or not.
I can check because I pulled it up.
Please
it is.
do.
It just shows you are in there editing.
Okay, you can live watch my edits.
All right. You want to pull it up and give everybody a taste? Maybe 5-10 seconds.
Sure.
Ooh, that's not it.
Hold on.
Where are you?
Hold on.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, I will in a second.
All right.
I do. And nope, not that one.
that just came out.
Yeah, you just womp me.
North Carolina, where salt, jasmine, and heat hang thick in the air, and ancient live oaks draped in Spanish moss watch over slow Blackwater rivers, a man was shaped by the land itself. Swamps, marshes, and tidal creeks taught patience, silence, and how to move unseen.
Okay, that's all you get.
And that's your teaser. So make sure to go check it out again. That's one of the big projects we will be working on this year. So yes, let us know what you think. Go over to Patreon. You can watch the whole thing. And we'll be...
As we're editing,
because it's still not completely finished, but that's your teaser.
Yeah, that's your teaser. Right now, it's going through. I'm going through stock footage and things of that nature to stuff we have purchased and trying to upload the stock footage into the different editing softwares. And yeah, it's definitely it is. It is fun. It is fun.
All right, everybody. Well, it has been a blast tonight. I think this is one of our most creative episodes, I will say.
Well, I mean, it's something.
It's something. We'll know when the views come back in, I guess. But thank y'all all for watching, and we'll see you next Monday. And do you want to take it over?
Yeah, in the words of the late and great Harold Philpott, remember, everybody, no Fumar in the elevator. And Rudder Frop.
Rare Frop.